This is the Real Estate Investing Abundance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. I know you're excited to get into today's show, but I have a very exciting announcement to share with you before moving to the show. We've just launched a complimentary and comprehensive webinar that, among other things, shows you how to legally use passive real estate investing to reduce your taxes, recession-proof your nest egg, and take the sting out of inflation. If you are curious to learn more, go to steedtalker.com/webinar. It is complimentary and only takes a couple of minutes of your time. Once again, that is steedtalker.com/webinar. I'll see you in the webinar. Enjoy today's show. Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Allen, and I'm delighted to be with you again today. And what a treat we have in store for us today. With us today, we're going to learn the story of going from scrubs to syndication and ER doctors' financial awakening. And with us is Nkem Ezeamama, and she is an ER physician and multifamily real estate investor, helping healthcare professionals achieve wealth through passive investing and empowering women entrepreneurs to engage in business opportunities. Her passion lies in personal growth and finding her purpose in all endeavors. So, Nkem, welcome, and just take us into the show and tell us what sparked your transition from career ER physician to multifamily syndicator.
Alan, thank you so much for having me. It's just been a joy to be here, even to talk to you a little bit in the beginning. I've been watching and listening to your podcast series. And so when we connected and you said, let's do it, I was very excited about that. But how this whole journey started, I love the ER and I've been there for a lengthy period of time. But I knew that at some point that there was more. I knew that like my reach was more. And as I kept doing medicine, I realized that we were good at medicine. They only taught us, we were taught to be great practitioners, but we were not really taught how to steward wealth. We were not really taught how to invest. We were not taught a lot about finances. And so it was something that was very interesting to me, piqued my interest, especially around COVID, when I realized that we were, we were not set financially. And that when that hit us, a lot of us struggled. Some of my colleagues had to get second jobs. And that was just an eye opener for me. And so I wanted to take it upon myself to learn, other alternative asset classes, really how to grow wealth. And that's when I stumbled upon multifamily investing. And it has been one of the greatest joys and one of the greatest journeys for me, because as I've learned, I got proof of concept. I started off as a passive investor, and I understood. I started with a deal, another deal, and then it just started growing from there. And I noticed that I started teaching and I started educating, my other colleagues, family, friends, people in my circle of influence. And I said, this is what I'm doing. I've figured it out. I haven't figured all of it out, but I've started learning that this is a way that we can, passively invest. We can grow wealth and still do what we love. And that's how, Phoenix Capital was created. And it's been a journey and it's been a joy to kind of go from being one thing to another, and excelling, but also just thriving and enjoying what I'm doing and seeing. Really, the biggest thing is giving value back to people, and people are seeing it. People are more, investors are getting proof of concept, and they're like, oh, I want in, I'm excited about what you're doing. I see it. It makes sense. Let me jump in. And that's been the transition for me. It really started with just understanding that this was a limitation for us in the healthcare field. And I wanted to, we have the resources and I wanted to bring the access.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting that, well, I think it's true of all of the professions, whether it's architecture, engineering, or
yes,
or psychology, or whatever it is. Well, our curriculums are so full of preparing us for our fields that, there just really isn't a whole lot of time within our curriculums to talk about finances. And so if we're going to develop financial literacy, we really have to take it upon ourselves.
Yes.
And so I know you're not the only one who's found herself in that situation. I have been there myself as well. Well, there's so much I want to talk to you about, Nkem, but one thing in particular is this aspect of imposter syndrome. And I want to talk about that because I just think it's such a common thing amongst so many professionals. And I don't know for sure if you're referring about this imposter syndrome as a financial investor or if you experience that as a physician. I know a lot of us experience that in our professional lives and then also as investors. So talk to us about that.
Oh, that's a really good one. So it's a little bit of both, and I think it transcends into like everything that you do, every profession that you embark upon. And so even as I'll start with this, identity was a big thing, and my identity was rooted in medicine, and I learned slowly that being an ER physician was my job, but it was not who I was. And that was something that I needed to understand and then overcome. And as soon as I did that, then I understood that I could be an ER physician, I could be a real estate investor, and I could show up in every aspect of my life, knowing that with the right education, with the right training, that I could be, I could become an expert. But when I started out in multifamily investing, I knew I had learned so much about medicine, but in the beginning, I didn't know a lot about investing. And so to me, I had a hard time. I had a difficult time feeling like an expert, even though I learned that being an expert is just knowing more than one other person in the room. But I still didn't feel, because I knew the amount of training and the work that I put into being a physician. And I thought, well, I have to put in that same amount of work into this in order for me to be able to stand on stage, or even in order for me to be able to have this conversation with you. But I realized that it wasn't that. And so like I had to get rid of that imposter syndrome that like, I'm not good enough. Will they listen to me? What do I have to say? Will they take me seriously? Will I be able to get any investors? Like, will I be able to give value? Those were all things that I was afraid of, coming to the table. But I just learned that it was something that I needed to overcome. It was something that it was in me. And that the more that I educated myself, the more I empowered myself, that like I could show up, I could show up at the table and really truly feel like I had a place there. But it was a lot of mindset work that went into it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like day one, I flipped the switch and I thought, yes, I'm this and I'm that. It was a constant daily knowing that, like showing up. It was constant daily investing in myself. It was constant daily education that I could slowly stomp on that me inside that was saying like, you're not good enough. You're not going to succeed in this. Stay in your own lane. And I know that's a lot of us struggle with that. Like you said, I'm not the first. I won't be the last. But I want to tell people that, I want to empower people that we can do this. Like if you take the right steps, if you do the right things, you meet the right people, you network, you put your best foot forward. Like, I think that like imposter syndrome is exactly what it is. Like, you're not an imposter. Like, you have put in the work, you've done the thing that you needed to do to be able to say, yes, I'm this is who I am.
I think that that imposter syndrome is just kind of inherent, particularly
Yes.
with high achieving individuals. Maya Angelou even felt like she didn't have a right to be considered a great writer. So, and Lucille Ball experienced that even late into her life, that she just didn't feel that she was adequate as an actress. So it's just something inherent with high achieving individuals, it seems to me like. But to make your transition, I think there were transferable skills. And I think that a lot of professionals have those transferable skills. So where did you find that relationship between investing and the skills that you had developed as a physician?
I think that one of the biggest skills that I think that has served me well in the emergency department and in real estate investing is tenacity and resilience. And it's that attitude that when you show up, that you're, like it's that I can do anything attitude. And it doesn't come from a place of pride, but it comes from like, I'm showing up, I'm putting in the work. And so when I think of med school, like I think of all-nighters, I think of staying up all night studying, knowing that like people's lives were in my hands. And that's the same attitude that I'm bringing to this, where I know that like investors are relying on me for their hard-earned money, to be like, show me the way. What should I be doing? Is this investment good enough? And so that is the same attitude that I bring. I don't take it lightly. It comes from a place of humility, that like, I'm grateful that I'm able to do this. And that's truly the attitude that I brought in with me. And it's that resilience that, this is difficult. Yes, I potentially have two jobs, but I'm working at it to the best of my ability because I know that it's important. And people see that. Sometimes you don't think people are watching, Alan, but people are, and they pick up on your hard work. They pick on the traits, the people that they want to invest with, the people that, like the know, like, and trust concept. It's very, very important. And even if you think people aren't looking, aren't watching, they are. And so I feel like, to me, those are some of the biggest traits that I felt like that were transferred, from one field. It's like, it's in that humility, it's being tenacious, it's being resilient, that like, if I did that, I can do this too. And like, I can excel at this because I know that like, just as much as my patients' lives are in my hands, investors trust me. And I really cherish that. And that's the attitude that I brought to this space as well.
Well, and Kim, real estate investing is really not only important just for you, but you feel like it's very important for, well, probably just about anybody, but in particular, you feel like it's very important for those in your own profession, in the healthcare professions. Why is that so important for healthcare providers? We often think of them as high income earners, and they've established themselves financially. What's the point in them taking on a second job to go into real estate investing?
So, Alan, looks can be deceiving. I'll just start and say it that way. And you're right, we are high income earners. But when you get out of school, with a tremendous amount of debt. And so you go from making peanuts to making a very significant, sizable amount of money. Number one, no one tells us what to do with it. Number two, no one tells you how to structure. Number three, no one tells you what debt is important to pay off. How do you figure things out? And there's also this component of lifestyle creep. So we went from making nothing to making money. And then we went from, having nothing to being like, I want the best house and the best cars because I deserve it, because I've worked so hard. And so that's kind of all intertwined in everything. But also it's the fact that like, that lack of education that I talked about. So when we get out, you're told, just find a financial advisor, invest in stocks, make sure your 401k is secure, work hard until you're 64 and a half, and then live the rest of your life fully. So why can't you live the rest of your life fully today? Why can't you, the biggest thing for me is where my heart is in terms of like, going after healthcare professionals and going after, physicians, or like wanting to educate them, is that like, I want them to have the freedom to like practice medicine in its entirety, to feel like, yes, they can do what they love because they don't have to worry about, will I lose my job tomorrow? All my security is in this one thing. I've worked so hard for this, but it can be gone in a second. I want them to like practice medicine truly, or whatever part of healthcare it is, to their full potential, and like to really find joy and to find passion in that, while we take care of the rest, while we take care of the finances, while we take care of the investments, while we teach you. And it's, we teach you how to diversify. We teach you the importance of alternative asset classes. And so that you can spread your wealth, and you can grow that wealth, and you get to still do what you love. That's truly why I'm passionate about this field. That's why it's, if at the crux of it, that's what gets me excited, because I know that there is potential there. And, I said it, I think I said it in the beginning, but we have the resources. We just don't have the access because no one's telling us about it.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button, and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. Well, what are some of the major misconceptions that you run into when you're talking with other physicians or healthcare providers of really any kind who are stuck in terms of actually beginning their process of investing in real estate?
Lack of education. I found it to be the biggest thing. It's the fact that they don't know anything about it, and there's significant amount of fear in jumping in. There's a fear of the unknown, and they feel comfortable with what they're doing, what they know. They know that at the end of the month, I'm going to invest, I'm going to max out my 401k, I'm going to put a little bit into stocks. And so that whole idea, and funny enough, this is not the first time I've heard from other investors that physicians are kind of the toughest people to break into, or like healthcare professionals. And that's just because they don't know. They've, like I said, we're tunnel vision in all we've done is this. Now, it's not every physician, I'm not talking, but like majority don't know about this. This is just not something that anyone has told them about. And so the concept is so foreign to them that when you bring it, it's always fraught with a lot of no and a lot of I'm not it's not for me. But my goal is not to shove investments in their face. It's really to just educate. And I think that that's where like my passion and my joy lies. I just want to show you what else is out there. We've worked so hard that we deserve to know, we deserve access, and we need to know all the things that are available to us. And that's why I'm very passionate about it. So yes, my goal, if you invest, great. But if you don't, at least I have planted the seed that there is something else out there. And so it's up to you, to like, okay, well, what does that mean? What's multifamily, or what's, I don't know, self-storage, or what are other ways, to grow wealth? Like Andrew Carnegie said that 90% of millionaires made their wealth through real estate. So I want them to know that and to have access to that. And that's really where I found the biggest challenges is the lack of education. And the more we teach, the more we bring access, the more the more that becomes a staple and an important factor, I think that we'll be able to like combat some of the negative, negative connotations that come with like physician investors.
What are some of the tips that you have for putting the word out there for physicians in a way that physicians and other healthcare providers can actually hear the message?
So the biggest things that, we talk about is like, how can we, like taxes are a big deal. So like, how can you, because we pay a significant amount of taxes. So how can we defer taxes? Like, what are tax advantages, tax strategies? And this is a really neat way to do it. So it's meeting them at a pain point for them is a way that like they'll listen and they'll hear. So it's figuring out like, how can we help you grow wealth? Like, in the beginning, when I said it, we work hard and we work long hours. So it's like, well, how can you build something so that you get to do what you love, but then you get to do all the other things that you love? And so as a physician, I figured out the things that like my pain points. And I know that is also like, that can be transferred to every single one of them. And so that's the biggest thing. Another thing is truly passive. I don't want to work again. I don't want to have another job. And so being able to share this with them as a way to say, hey, I know we have some disposable income. It's sitting in the bank. What is it doing for you in the bank? Not much. Well, I know you don't need it. Why don't we put it into another vehicle that can help you grow wealth that's completely passive? So you're not thinking about it. So while you're sleeping, it's making money. While you're working, it's making money. While you're hanging out with your family or friends, whatever it is, while you're traveling, while you're running, it's making money for you. So those are the ways that I felt that I have been able to be successful in reaching out to my fellow colleagues or healthcare professionals. It's what is that pain point that I'm trying to solve for me and for them.
In terms of working with other women and entrepreneurs, what are some of the things you're doing in terms of reaching out to women in particular?
This is an area that I'm really passionate about. And that's because, in the real estate space, I think it's less than, I want to say 30% of female investors. And that number, I want that number to increase. Like, I know that the thing that I'm doing personally, and I'll give you an example. I went to a meetup and I was the only woman. And I told myself that the next time I go to that meetup, I'm going to invite someone and bring them along with me. And so my goal and my goal is that I'm coming to the table no matter what, but I'm also bringing someone alongside with me. So I have done webinars that I focused on just like empowering women, female entrepreneurs. Some of my speaking engagements are targeted just towards women, because I just feel like the more education, the more people see that we're doing this. And it also starts with me. And I'm not saying I'm not the first one, I won't be the last one, but I'm playing my part in showing up. So I'm playing my part in speaking, I'm playing my part in educating myself, and so that they can see that there's someone else that looks like them that is there. So that's kind of the biggest things that I've done is I've geared to webinars towards them, towards women. I have specifically gone out to meet with other women, to share the word, as well as speaking engagements that are focused solely on for women. So those are some of the things that I feel. And I know that we still have a long way to go, but I think that the more women see this, the more they're excited about it and know that, like, I can do it too. That's the biggest take home for me.
Other than the fact that there are just fewer women in the field of real estate investing
in general,
what are the challenges that women face that perhaps men don't even necessarily even think about?
It's the fear of, oh, this is a really good one. It's the fear of like not doing it well enough, or, the fear of trying to do all things at the same time. So like as a woman, you feel like my role is to be at home. My role is to be the homemaker. I also need to do this, and I also need to work. And so it's putting on all those hats, which are awesome, but it's feeling like it's this guilt. I think that's a very big thing. It's the guilt that like I'm not doing enough. And so I'm going to pull back on the things that are important to me. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to empower and educate women that, like, yes, we can do it. It might look different, but also one of my mentors said something that was just like incredibly enlightening. And it was actually a man. And it was that the future is feminine. And what he means by that is that some of the skills that women have, like empathy or just like a softness to them, that's what we need in business. It's no more strong, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like you can show up just as you are and still be successful. And so that's some of the fears that I've noticed, or even the fear of like showing up in your full self. And the full self is not a masculine self as a woman. It's just showing up knowing that like you are strong, you're courageous, you're bold, you're tenacious, and having to sometimes dumb that down. I've seen that those are some of the limitations that women have had, in the past. And one of the things I'm trying to empower women is to say, show up as who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can, and in doing that, this is one thing I can say out loud. In doing that, you are encouraging someone else. In doing that, you're telling someone else like they can do it too. And that's the message I really want to send across.
You just mentioned something I'd like you to go in a little bit deeper in. That
Okay.
is this aspect of dumbing it down. What is it that causes women to feel like they have to dumb it down, and how can they overcome that feeling?
So a lot of industries that, real estate, medicine, certain aspects of medicine, I can say that because those are the two that I know well, are male-driven industries. And so sometimes in order to fit in, we almost have to be someone else, or we almost have to put on this cloak so that we're met at the level that we're supposed to be at. So for instance, let's say in me, I know I'm supposed to be a leader, but I'm a woman, and I know that I'm walking into a field that's completely dominated by men. Well, sometimes my mindset is that I need to fit myself into the mold that's already created for me, which is number 3 or number 4. When I know that like I have the skills, I have the power, I have the knowledge to be at the top. But in order for it to be okay, then I'm just going to be okay with being where. And there's nothing wrong with being number 3. But if that's not who you're supposed to be, then that's not who you're supposed to be. And that is okay. So I think that a part of it is that sometimes in order for us to remain where we are for fear of being let go, or fear of whatever it is that's keeping us there. Sometimes we just want to cower and be okay where we are. And I want to let women know that, like, there is nothing wrong with being a leader. There's nothing wrong with showing up in your full self. If that's who you are, if that's who you're called to be, that's okay. So I can guarantee you, you can ask other women that this is not, I'm not the first person that will say this, but yes, you sometimes dumb down your abilities so that you can fit in, so that you can remain in the position where you're supposed to be, but that's not what you're supposed to do, if that makes any sense.
Is that because of a feeling that if you come into your full being and
You would be
you
seen more
express on
masculine.
that, and you'll be seen as masculine, and you'll be threatening to the
Yes,
men? Is that what the issue is?
that is what the issue is. And so, like, in that, I went to I was at a Tony Robbins conference, and one of the kind of messages was that, like, you don't have to be that. Now, if that's who you are, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But yes, you're absolutely right, Alan, in that, in being that, in trying to reach for the top, that you're seen as more masculine, and the power that comes with that. But that just could be who you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so you hit the nail on the head when you said that. It's that feeling that I might be seen as more masculine, or I might be seen as threatening, or I might be seen as, like this person who's like woman power or whatever it is. But it's just, who you are, your worth, and you know what you're capable of, and you just want to live in that.
Well, and Kim, tell us what you have to offer and how we can get in touch with you to take advantage of that.
That's a really good question. So right now we are we're about to close on our first deal. So I'm really, really excited about that. But we are actively growing our portfolio as a real estate investment firm. Phoenix Capital is a company. And so we're just looking for, the biggest thing that we're doing is education, educating investors, giving them value, knowing that the potential in this is great, and to come alongside with us. So I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably one of the best places to reach out to me. It's kind of where you hear my story, you hear, kind of who I am, the journey, how I'm walking through different aspects of life, whether it's mindset, multifamily, investing, entrepreneurship, all of that. You'll find that there. But you can also reach us via our website, www.phcinvest.com. And then you can email me at Nkem, that's NKEM, at phcinvest.com.
Well, and Kim, one last question, and that is, what advice do you have for women who are considering stepping into real estate investing or other entrepreneurial endeavors?
It's easy for me to say, but it's hard to do, which is just do it. Take action. No matter how small the step is, it's a step in the right direction. So I say, if there's a fear of failure, fear of like, what if, will I succeed? I just want you to squash that voice and really just take the first step, whether it's signing up for a meetup, or whether it's signing up for a company, or whether it's signing up for a mentorship or coaching, or even simple as picking up that book. Whatever it is, I think that the first step and the biggest thing is to just do something, take action, and just do it. That would be truly my advice, because when you do that, then it just starts opening multiple doors.
Well, and Kim, it has been a wonderful delight. You're just such a charming person, and you just exude empathy, understanding, and competence along with all of that. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off, passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to steedtalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to steedtalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.